Okay, so by definition, page rank is just if you have like all the nodes like this, what is the probability that at some time a user will be visiting or browsing a certain page? Okay, so if a user is spending more time on a page, then it's larger the probability. So in a day, okay, so if a user spends a lot of time on a particular page, then the probability that at any chosen time the user will be at a particular page is going to be high for that page. Okay, so you really want to find the more popular page out there, okay, in terms of the incoming and outgoing edges, not based on the content, just based on the topological information. Okay, all right. So now it requires some probability knowledge, but not much. So if you have, say, about 10 pages, what's the probability that at any chosen time, so if all pages are equally likely to be accessible, what's the probability that at any time a user will be at a particular page? 1/10, right? So if there's equal chance, then it's just 1 over the number of pages. Okay. Now, think about how you really do surfing online. So you say at some time you are at a particular page. Don't need to bother about how you got to the page. You are at a certain page, right? So after that, so once you are on a certain page, you read whatever is the contents on the page, and then what do? You decide to click one of the outgoing edges. You know, there will be certain links in that page. You decide to click one of them. Or what you totally decide to jump to some new page. You open a new tab or something and open a new page. Including that current page you are looking at also, there's a possibility that you could open a new tab and open another instance of the same page.
You mean from one tab you need to open?
Okay, you feel very sleepy. So you are currently at a page, right? So think about how you do what you do. You either click one of the outgoing links in that page.
You mean hyperlinks?
Yes, hyperlinks. Or decide to just jump to a new page. So how to jump to a new page? You just open a new tab typically and open a new page. And
otherwise you can change the current address and go.
Yeah, you could do that too. So it is possible that the same page you may want to visit again by opening a new tab. That's what I said. So every page is equally likely to be visited. You just decide to not go to one of the outgoing page. You just want to jump to some page out there. Okay. So if there is a page, say X, we want to find what is the probability you would be at page X. So page rank is nothing but the probability. So page rank for a vertex is like a centrality metric. You calculate it for every vertex. So the page rank for a vertex is the probability that the user will be at vertex X at some time. Okay. So there are two ways you could be at page X. You could have jumped to that page, or you could have gone to X from one of its incoming edges, right? So you might be browsing some page Y, and from Y you visited X. So those are the two possibilities. You just randomly jumped to page X, or from one of its incoming edges you would have got to page X. Okay? So if you have, say, n pages or n nodes, right? The chance that you would have gone to page X, just by jumping to that page is what? 1 over n, because you're equally likely to visit any page out there, so the probability you would have chosen this particular page X is 1 over n. Now, again, as I said, you do one of the two. You just jump to a new page or the current page itself, or you decide to go through one of the outgoing edges. Now, there is a probability D with which you decide to visit one of the outgoing edges in a particular page. Okay, so this D is called the damping factor. Okay, so typically it is 0.85, which means there's an 85% chance that you visit one of the outgoing pages from a particular page. So then what is the probability? You will just jump to a random page, 1 minus D, right? So which means typically if D is 0.85, 1 minus D is going to be 0.15. So this jumping to a random page, so this is the probability. Once you decide to jump, this is the probability that you will jump to a particular page, page X. Now, what is the probability for the jumping to happen? 1 minus D. So it is 1 minus D times 1 over N. You have to multiply the two probabilities. So first of all, you should decide to jump. So the probability of you deciding to jump is 1 minus D. Once you decide to jump, what's the probability? You will be at page X, it is 1 over N. So it is, you have to multiply both the probabilities. You know that, right? So they are independent things.
What is damping?
Damping factor is just like you decide to go to, the name used to indicate, it's not damping alone, damping factor. So it's a probability that you decide to visit one of the outgoing edges from a certain page.
How many pages? How many pages?
Not how many pages, the probability.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Alright, so this is one term. This is based on the jumping thing. The other way you could be at certain pages through one of its incoming edges. Okay, so the incoming edge is, let us say, from a vertex Y. So in order to come from Y to X, first of all you should be at page Y, right? So only if you are at page Y, from Y you can come to X, right? So the probability you will be at page Y at that time is denoted as page rank of Y. So page rank of Y, some vertex, is the probability will be at that vertex. Okay. So first of all, you have to be at page Y. So the probability of that happening is page rank of Y. Okay. Once you are at page Y, there is a probability you decide to jump to one of its outgoing edges, and that is this damping factor D. Okay. So then, once you decide to jump to one of the outgoing edges, which outgoing edge of Y? Because Y may have several outgoing edges. So Y may have several outgoing edges, and the edge to X is one of those outgoing edges. Again, you have equal chance of visiting one of the outgoing edges. Okay. So what's the probability that you will choose to visit Y to X from Y? Is going to be what? Let us say you have 4 outgoing edges from Y. So the probability that you will choose to visit X is going to be 1 over 4, yeah. Right? Because you have 4 outgoing edges. So in general, we can say that as 1 over what is called the out degree of Y. So out degree of Y is the number of outgoing edges for the vertex. So this is the probability that you would visit X from one of its incoming edges. Okay, so you would add both these terms, this plus this. So that is the page rank of X. Okay, so the now we have to be careful. This term Y is not the only incoming neighbor or node, right? So you could have, let us say Y1, you could have an incoming edge from Y2 to X and so on. So you have to consider all those incoming neighbors. So this term, you have to sum all those probabilities. So so Y belongs to all incoming neighbors, so I'll put it like this. So whichever node from which you have an incoming edge, you have to consider all those nodes, neighbors. So you have to sum all the probability. Okay, this term. So let me repeat one more time. So the page rank of a vertex X is basically the probability you will be at page X at a certain time. So you'll be at page X at a certain time, either by jumping to page X from some page, which could include page X itself, or through one of its incoming neighbors. So jumping to page X will happen if you decide to jump to some page. So when you are browsing some page, the probability that you would decide to visit one of the outgoing edges from that page is D. So 1 minus D is the probability that you just decide to jump to a random page. And once you decide to jump to a random page, any page is equally likely to be visited. So if there are n pages or nodes, then 1 over n is the probability you will choose to visit that particular page X. So this is one term in the PageRank formulation. The second term is basically trying to visit page X from one of its incoming edges. Okay? So if you just consider one such incoming neighbor, Y or Y1, so first of all, you should be at that particular page Y. So that will happen with the probability PageRank of Y. And once you are at page Y, you have to decide to visit one of the outgoing pages from page Y. So that is probability D. And once you decide to go to visit one of the outgoing neighbors, you choose to visit page X with the probability 1 over out degree of Y, because any neighbor, any outgoing edge or node can be is equally likely to be visited. Okay, so you have to multiply these three probabilities. So that's the probability that you visited page X from one of the incoming neighbors or nodes Y. So you have to consider all such incoming neighbors, add up all these probabilities. Okay, so this is the PageRank formulation. We'll see an extension of it. Right now, the assumption is there are no sync nodes. A node is a sync node if doesn't have any outgoing edge. All the edges it has is incoming edges. So if there's no outgoing edge for a node, that node is called a sync node. So this formulation is sufficient if there are no sync nodes. So we'll see later what additions or extensions we need to incorporate if there are sync nodes in the graph. Okay. So if you simplify or combine the terms, you see this D is a constant. It's a probability that you decide to visit one of the outgoing edges. So you could actually take it out and just combine PageRank of Y divided by out degree of Y. So that is the second term. Now if you notice the first term, there's 100 here. It's 100 because we represent a PageRank as a percentage, a probability but as a percentage. Okay, so that is why we multiply by 100. So all the numbers are like from 0 to 100. Okay. All right. So I have an example just to motivate the calculation. Then we'll go through the calculations with the graph itself. Okay, so let us try to use this graph itself to write the formulation for a particular vertex and then see what happens. Okay, so we are given a graph like this, A, B, C, D are the vertex IDs. Now, to begin with, so there are 11 vertices in this graph. So, to begin with, you have an equal chance of being at any page. So the initial PageRank value for any vertex is 1 over n, right? So again, it's represented as a percentage, so 100 over n. So it is 100 over divided by 11 is 9.1. Okay. Now, let us write this formulation for particular vertex B. So when you work with a graph, you have to write this formulation for every vertex in the graph. So we'll see that later. Let us just pick vertex B. So B has incoming edges from, so you have to find out from which vertices it has incoming edges. So it has incoming edges from C, D, E, F, G, H, right? Even I. All right, so how to write this formulation? Okay, so the first term is very simple. So as I said, if I don't state this D value, you should choose it as 0.85. So 1 minus D is going to be 0.15 times 100 divided by 11.
Which value you say?
The damping factor.
Okay.
So it's typically 0.85 for in the internet. So I will let you to use that all the time. Okay. But if I have to change, I'll specify. So that's the first term. This is a jumping term. The second term is coming from an incoming neighbor. So that D times. So you have to consider all the incoming neighbors. So let us go one by one. Let us start with C. So it's a page rank of C divided by or multiplied by 1 over its out degree. So what is the out degree of C? Just 1. It has only one outgoing edge. So it's just multiplied by 1 over 1. So that is why I just did as page rank of C. Okay. Now what is the next incoming neighbor? D. So plus page rank of D times what? D has 2 outgoing edges, so it's 1 over 2. Okay. Then what else? E. Page rank of E times how many outgoing edges does E have? 1, 2, and 3. So it's 1 over 3. So you have to
how many
consider.
goes to, how many going to be?
No. How many outgoing edges from that neighbor? So B has these incoming edges from these vertices.
No, by yours in the.
Listen, wait. So B has incoming edges from B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all these vertices, right? Once you identify those vertices, go through one by one, and for those vertices, find how many outgoing edges they have. So in the case of E has one outgoing edge that goes to B, of course. The other outgoing edge is somewhere else. So you don't even have to worry about that's why I presented like this. You don't have to worry about.
Denominator will be the number of outgoings.
Correct. From that incoming neighbor. Okay. So you don't have to worry about where those outgoing edges are going. Just like count the number of outgoing edges, and one of them, of course, will go to B. So 1 over that B, right? Then what about F? It has 2 outgoing edges, so page rank of F times 1 over 2, right? So count like this and write all those vertices. Is that clear? So this is how you come up with a page rank formulation for each vertex. So once you come up with a page rank formulation for each vertex, you go through some iterations. We'll see with a smaller graph the iterations. And eventually, so as you go through the iterations, the page rank values for the vertices will change. And after a while, it will saturate and not change. So that's the time you stop. And so when you stop for this graph, these are the page rank values for the vertices. So again, page rank is a probability basically. So sum of all the page rank values of the vertices should add up to 100. Okay. So you see page rank of B is the largest, 38.4. So this is probably the most visited page based on most preferred page based on this incoming links.
You need to find out for each.
Yeah, so you do the iterations, you will be computing this in parallel. Okay, so just wait for some time, we'll go through the example for the iterations. Okay, so now one thing I want to make you realize from this graph. If you look at, say, the number of incoming edges, B has about what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 incoming edges. Now E also has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 incoming edges. Okay? And C has only 1 incoming edge. But C has a very high page rank, 34.3, even though it has only 1 incoming edge. Whereas E, even though it has about 6 incoming edges, it has a low page rank value compared to C. So why do you think it is like that? So the number of incoming edges is not the only criteria. Okay? You could have just 1 incoming edge like C and still have a high page rank value. So the reason C has a high page rank value compared to E is that one incoming edge is coming from B, which itself has a high page rank value. Whereas the incoming edges for E come from vertices that have a low page rank value. So it is like this, you publish a, you write a, you have a paper that's already published, okay? So that is your paper here. So if your paper is cited by a well-known author in that area, whose publications and whose, the H index and all these things that people talk about the citation area is very high, then your rating in that citation network will also automatically increase. Okay. Whereas I can even think about web pages. So I have, say, my course page, and my course page is cited by a CNN article, or some MIT professor has said, okay, this is the best course in network science I have come across, so everyone look into this course materials, and he has put a link in his website into my course, right? On the other hand, there is some professor whose course web page is linked by some schools, but they are not well known. So it's not a very top 10 university or something like that, right? So I get a larger page rank score because my page is cited or visited from a well-known page, right? Whereas this page will not get such a high score because who is citing those or linking those pages to that page is not well known or doesn't have a high page rank score. Okay, so nobody has incoming edges to these pages, so that is the main reason they have a low page rank score. And if there's a link from such pages to your page, like page E, then you will also have a low page rank score. Is that clear? So from where you are being cited matters a lot. Okay, any question? Yes.
Can you go back to your previous slide?
Yes.
So in your equation for the probability of B, I noticed that you don't have the probability of J nor the probability of K, though there's just one edge coming from those.
Yeah, so we're looking at probability of B, so we have to just consider the incoming edges from where, which vertices B has
Okay,
incoming
got it.
edges.
It has to hit B. Got it. Okay.
All right, so let us look at some examples to go through the iterations. Okay, so this is a small graph. So again, first design that check whether the graph has any sync node or not. If there's no sync node, we can proceed like what we are going to do. If there is a sync node or one or more sync nodes, we have to just do some small modifications. So we'll deal that with later. So this graph, so for a sync node means only incoming edges to a node, no outgoing edges. So here the A, of course, doesn't have an incoming edge at all, so not a problem. C has at least one outgoing edge. D has at least one outgoing edge. B also has outgoing edge. So every node has at least one outgoing edge. So no node is a sync node. So your first step is to decide that whether the graph has any sync node or not. Then write down the formulation based on that. Okay. So as I said, for each vertex you write the formulation. So for A, since there is no incoming edge, the second term based on incoming edges will not be there. So you have to just consider the first term, just the jumping term. So that's why it is 1 minus D times 100 divided by 4 because there are 4 nodes in this graph. Is that clear? So that's the page rank of A. Now page rank of B. So if you notice, for all the vertices, we have this 1 minus D term. That's the same. The first term is the same for all the vertices. Plus, the second term is what is different for each vertex.
So it should be 4 by 100, right?
4 by 100?
Why 100 by?
What is that 100 over 4? It is the probability you will jump to a particular page. The 4 pages, 1 over 4 is the probability. So multiply by 100. Okay?
Okay, yeah, got it.
Now, so let's do for B here again. So B has incoming edges from A, C, and D. So it's D times. So A has only one outgoing edge. So it's a page rank of A times 1 over 1. Right? So page rank of the vertex times 1 over its out degree. So out degree of A is 1, so it's 1 over 1. Plus C, page rank of C times C has 2 outgoing edges, so 1 over 2. Plus page rank of D times only 1 outgoing edge, so 1 over 1. Okay, so that is the formulation for page rank of B. Then page rank of C, so 1 minus D times 100 over 4, plus C has incoming edge only from B, so it is D times, and page rank of B times what? B has only 1 outgoing edge, so it's just 1 over 1. Okay, page rank of B times 1 over 1. Okay, then for D, it has incoming edge only from C, so it is page rank of C times, and C has 2 outgoing edges, so 1 over 2 times page rank of C. Now, if you want to cross check whether you wrote all the formulation right, there's one way we can do that. So for each vertex, the coefficients in the second term should add up to 1. So for C, there's a half here, another half here, so half plus half is 1. A appears only once, so its coefficient is already 1. Okay, and D appears only once, and its coefficient is already 1. B also appears once only, and its coefficient is already 1. So if a vertex appears in several places, all its coefficients should add up to 1. Is that clear? So,
Sir, in case of like last PR of D, why you put like half? 1 by 2?
because you are looking at C as an incoming neighbor to D, right? So, and C has 2 outgoing edges. So, what's the formula?
Yeah,
Page rank of C
right.
times 1 over the out degree. So, this is the formulation for page rank. So, now we have to go through the iterations. So, like in the other example, you have to have the initial page rank value for each vertex. And the initial page rank value for any vertex is 100 divided by the number of vertices. So, you have 4 vertices here, so 100 divided by 24 is 25 is the initial page rank value for any vertex. Okay? So, then what you do? So use the initial values, or basically for any iteration use the page rank values from the previous iteration in this formula and compute the new page rank values. So you should not say, for example, compute the page rank of A first in the current iteration, compute page rank of A first and then use the page rank, the latest value of A. No, it's not like that. You have to use on the right hand side the values from the previous iteration. Is that clear? So it's not like the hub and authority base where what you do there. You first calculate the hub score and or authority, what is that? You first have the authority score or the hub score. Authority score, and then use the authority score in the latest iteration to calculate the hub score for that iteration. And then using the hub score of the previous iteration, calculate the authority score, and then calculate the hub scores based on the authority scores of the current iteration. So it's not like that. So here we have to use the page rank values from the previous iteration for the right hand side and calculate the new page rank values for the vertices. Okay. So which means so for the first iteration here, page rank of A doesn't really depend on any vertex. It is just this 1 minus D times 100 over 4, and D is 0.85. So it is 0.15 times 25 comes out to be 3.75. Okay. Then the second B, again the 0.15 times 25 plus page rank of A. What value would you use here? From the previous iteration, which is the initial condition. So 25 plus half times page rank of C is 25 again plus 25 for D. Now page rank of C is, page rank of B here again is 25. So you have to use from the previous iteration, compute all the values. These are the new values. So again you can cross check the sum of these are probabilities. So the sum of all the probabilities should be 100. So sum all these values, it should be 100. If not, you have done some mistake in the calculation. Okay. So now use these values on the right hand side to calculate the page rank values for the next iteration. Okay? So use the first iteration values to calculate the values for second iteration. Then once you get these values, use these values for the third iteration and so on. Okay? And you proceed until the values do not change much. Okay? So unlike the other algorithm, this can be easily done with Excel. So now I'm going to show you. Actually, there is also an Excel page I've put in my website that illustrate this thing, but I'll show now in Excel. So if you're doing using Excel your exam, you should print the Excel page and take a screenshot of the formula that will appear on the Excel page. So why is happening like this? Okay, so you have the initial condition. Values are 25. So now, so page rank of A is 1 minus D, so D is 0.15 times 100 divided by 4, right? That's the page rank of A. Is that clear? So we can type it like that and press enter. 1 minus D is 0.85, so 1 minus D. Okay, so D is 0.85, so 1 minus D is 0.15, so that's 3.75. Now for page rank of B, for the first iteration you have to enter the formula. Okay, so this is iteration 1. So what is page rank of B? This 1 minus B term, so 1 minus 0.85 times 100 divided by 4 plus the second term, which is D times, so 0.85 times all these things. So page rank of A. So page rank of A comes really from the previous cell or previous iteration, right? So which cell number I should put here for page rank of A? It comes from the previous iteration. So where is the value for page rank of A in the previous iteration? Huh?
B2.
B2, this cell, right? That's where page rank of A in the previous iteration is. Once you put the cell number, it gets highlighted. Then what else? Page rank of C times 1/2. So page rank of C from the previous iteration is in what cell?
B3.
B4.
B4.
Right? Times the half. Times the half. Plus page rank of D is from
D
what?
is
Which cell?
5.
B5. So that is it. Okay? So that's the page rank of B. So now for C, the first term as usual, 1 minus 0.85 times 100 divided by 4 plus the second term is page rank of B times D, right? So it is 0.85 times page rank of B comes from which cell? The previous iteration. B3. Okay? That is it. So then for D is going to be the first term as usual, plus the second term 0.85 times. It is page rank of C times 1 over 2. So page rank of C comes from what cell? B4 times 1 over 2. They're clear? Just as a formula. Okay? So if you can want to cross check sum all these probabilities, sum cells C2 to C5 should be 100. Okay? So now the subsequent iterations are just easy. So iteration 2, what do you have to do? Just copy these cells and put it here. So the values will automatically update. Okay? So just copy the cells from the previous iteration and put it here. So for the next iteration, just copy these values and put it here. So if you click on the cell, you see it takes the formula from the previous cell. So if you can read this is, you see here, 0.85 times C2. So C2 is what? The page rank of A from the previous iteration. Then C4 is actually page rank of C from the previous iteration. Okay? So then C5. See here, those cells actually get highlighted. So the cells that are being used. Okay? So if you copy and paste, it gets transferred. So for iteration 1, you did it based on the column B in Excel. So for iteration 2, which is column D, you are using, if you just copy and paste the value, the formulas from this cell, it takes the values from the previous column, which is column C. For column E, it takes values from the previous column, which is column B, and so on. Okay? So you can proceed any number of iterations in no time, and the values will keep on getting updated. So you can continue until you see the values converging. Typically, I would suggest like 10 iterations or so for exam purposes. So you can stop at that time and look at the values and rank the vertices. So in this example, page rank of B is largest, 39.25, so it's ranked first. Then C is 37.5, so that's ranked after B. Then D is ranked after that, then A. Now if you look at the graph, the page rank of A is very small because there's no incoming edge. Then B is quite high because it has incoming edge from all the 3 vertices. Then between C and D, you can notice that C also has only incoming edge, D also has only one incoming edge. But like the previous example, that incoming edge for C is from B, which has a high page rank. So C has a very high page rank because of that. Whereas that incoming edge for D is coming from C, which by itself does not have a high page rank as B. So D has a relatively lower page rank score. Is that clear? So C gets itself the high page rank based on B, and D gets only from C, not from B. Okay, so page rank of B is relatively less.
B has high rank because it has 3 incoming.
In the small graph, just incoming edges matter, but in a larger graph like the previous one, from where are those incoming edges coming also matters.
Okay.
Okay? Any question? So you can work out another example like this. So the first thing is to decide based whether the graph has any sync node or not. If there is no sync node, we can proceed like what we have been doing, and just come up for each vertex the page rank formulation. Okay? So in this case, we have for A incoming edges from B, C, and D. So for B, it's page rank of B times 1 was out degree. So you have 2 outgoing edges, so 1 over 2. Okay? Plus, we have incoming edge from C. Again, C has 2 outgoing edges, so page rank of C times 1 over 2. And you have D with only 1 outgoing edge, so it's just page rank of D. Okay? Now for B, you have incoming edge only from A. And A has only 1 outgoing edge, so it is D times page rank of A. Is that clear? Okay? Now C has only incoming edge from B, and B has 2 outgoing edges, so page rank of B times half. Okay? So decide where the incoming edges are from, and for those vertices find out degree. Okay? Now for D, you have again 1 incoming edge from C, and C has 2 outgoing edges, so page rank of C times 1 over 2. Is that clear? So once you come up with your formulation, just use the Excel sheet. So initial page rank values are 25, and then carefully key in the formulas in the Excel sheet. So use these values on the right hand side to compute the page rank values for the vertices. Okay, and repeat the process.
So formula is the above formula, right? PA
Yes,
of
so this is something you have to come up with based on the graph. So most of your credit will be whether you chose the right formula, because these things you can just copy and paste and do it. So if you have the right formula, then everything will be right. So again, you can cross check for each vertex. The sum of the coefficients should add up to 1. So for B, the coefficient has half here and another half, so it adds up to 1. For C is a half here, another half, so adds up to 1. D appears only here, so it is already 1. A appears only here, so it's already 1. So you can cross check if the coefficients add up to 1. Okay? Any question? Alright, so let us now take a small example graph, a very small graph, to see what happens if we just apply this formulation if the graph has a sync node. Okay? So let us consider the graph to be like this, A to B. So if you write the page rank formulation based on the small graph like this, let us see what is going to happen. So the page rank of A based on this formulation is going to be, the first term is 1 minus D, so it is 0.15 times 100 divided by 2, there are only 2 pages. And A doesn't have any incoming edge, so would A have the second term? There's no incoming edge to A, right? So you don't have the second term.
yeah.
So it's just this. What about B? So the graph is very small, A to B, that's a graph.
A plus 1.
Is that clear? So B is a sync node. Why? It doesn't have any outgoing edge.
A plus that.
Okay? So for B, it is going to be the first term as usual. The second term is going to be what?
Plus
D times where the incoming edges are from. So B has only 1 incoming edge, that's from A, so it's just page rank of A. Right? So that's the page rank formulation. So if you decide to now go through the iterations, the initial page rank values for A and B are 50 each. There are 2 vertices, so 100 over 2 is 50. So after the first iteration, the page rank of A is going to be just this value, 0.15 times 100 divided by 2, which is 7.5. Then for B is that 7.5, the first term, plus 0.85 times the previous iteration value for the page rank of A is 50. So put that, you get 50 again for the page rank of B. So if you sum these 2 page rank values, 7.5 for A and 50 for B, you get only 57.5. So what did I say? The sum of all the page rank values should be 100, right? So it doesn't add up to 100. The reason is because B is a sync node and we did not account for that. Okay? So it's like this, A giving its information to B. So everything at A goes to B. And all this information gets stuck at B. It doesn't circulate around the graph. So if you look at the previous graph that didn't have any sync node, information doesn't get stuck up because there's no sync node, and we account for all the incoming edges on the right hand side formulation here. So that's why I keep telling the coefficients add up to 1. So the coefficients add up to 1 is circulating among all the vertices. Okay, so the data will not get stuck at any vertex. Whereas if you have a sync node and you do not take that into consideration when you come up with the formulation, the probabilities, the page rank will not add up to 100. Okay, so how to account for a sync node is a very simple fix to this formula. So we'll look at that because we'll have continuity, and so it may take like a few more minutes to finish this off. Alright, so what we have to do is this. So if there's a sync node like this, A is a sync node, okay, it has no outgoing edges. So you have to assume logically there are edges to every vertex out there, including A. Because you have to disseminate that information to other vertices. You don't want the information that comes to A to get stuck there because it's a sync node. So you're assuming A has outgoing edges to every vertex out there, including itself. Okay, so once you have those logical, what do you call,
virtual.
Virtual, very good name, virtual edges to all the vertices, you can use the same idea that we have to come up with the formulation. So if you consider this as incoming edge to B, then you can now use the same formulation that we have. Okay, so let us do that on this graph. Once you draw the virtual edges, so page rank of A, it's going to be 1 minus D times 100 over 4 as usual, plus D times. So A has incoming edges from B, C, D as well as itself, right? So you have to write page rank of B divided by what? Number of outgoing edges from B. So you have 2 outgoing edges from B as usual, plus page rank of C divided by 1 because there's only 1 outgoing edge from C, plus page rank of D divided by 3 outgoing edges from D. Now you don't have to write it separately like this because it's also D times. Okay, so you can really combine this along with this D term. Okay, so I'll post this updated versions after the class. So just look at A. A has how many outgoing edges? 4 outgoing edges, right? So it's page rank of A divided by 4. Is that clear? Okay. So once you draw those virtual edges, you can think of like a normal graph. There are no sync nodes, so you can apply the old page rank formulation. Is that clear? That's the idea. So page rank of B, again B has incoming edges from D as well as now from A. So the second term is going to be page rank of D, which is like 3 outgoing edges, so page rank of D divided by 3 plus the page rank of A divided by 4. Is that clear? So this page rank of A divided by 4 will there be for every vertex. So that is why for clarity I have pulled it out separately and multiplied with that with D times page rank of A divided by 4. So that is what we show here. So the general formulation, this is the previous term that you have seen so far, plus the D times the Z is a sync node. So for all those sync nodes, so in this graph A is the only sync node. So if we have more than one sync node, we have to draw virtual edges from each of those sync nodes to every other node, including that node also. So that is why it's better to consider the separate term if you have a larger graph with several sync nodes. So for page rank of that sync node divided by the number of vertices. Why number of vertices? Because you are drawing those virtual edges to every vertex, including that vertex, right? So if you have multiple sync nodes, it will be like page rank of A divided by 4 plus page rank of the other sync node divided by 4 and so on. Okay? So you do that for all the sync nodes separately, but for smaller graphs like this, if you can just combine everything together, that's also okay. So either way is fine. Should be the same answer. Is that clear? So come up with a page rank formulation, considering those virtual edges as usual, and then repeat the calculations. So there's nothing changing there. And if you again add up the coefficients for each vertex, you should add up to 1. For A, now the coefficients add up to 1 because you have 1/4 for each vertex. So it adds up to 1. For B, you have 1/2 here, 1/2 here, so adds up to 1. For C, you have just 1 appearance here, so it adds up to 1. D, you have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 adds up to 1. So for every vertex, including the sync nodes, the coefficients should add up to 1. Is that clear? So that's the only small fix you have to do. Draw those virtual edges. Good terminology. I was using this in the past, but I just forgot the name. So virtual edges. Okay. So go through. I have a couple of examples considering sync nodes. So go through the calculations to make sure you understand it. Okay. Should be straightforward.